Alrighty, boyos, welcome back once again to another video. How are you guys doing, guys? Today I have a pretty interesting concept video for you guys, and I tried my best to not clickbait you guys. I know how a lot of people hear how they are on YouTube and stuff, so I try to make sure, I made it very clear in the title and thumbnail. If you guys did get clickbaited or feel like you were misled, then go ahead and click off. This is a concept video, but one thing I do want to say before the video starts is that I am doing a giveaway over on my Twitter. Guys, make sure you go check that out. It's for 27,000 V-Bucks. There's going to be 10 winners, and it's going to be shared between all of you guys, basically $20 per person. But make sure you guys go check that out. First link in the description, like always. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this Fortnite concept video, as it's been a quick minute since I've actually done one. Now, the only concept videos that I've done in the past are the mage class concept, with staff weapons and stuff, basically built off of the recent Battle Royale skins from that time. And another video I did was about a Shogun Ninja, which I thought is probably the coolest concept I've seen to date, which I would highly recommend that you guys go watch that video. It's in the playlist for Fortnite concept, so if you guys do want to see that, then make sure you go check it out. But yeah, so today, guys, we're here to talk about the storm element concept. Now, this is a concept that was created by me and my friend Deathgrip. Basically, we kind of talk some bare bones ideas about it, and in this video I'm going to kind of be expanding on the ideas that me and Deathgrip had and making it into a full-blown concept for the game, which is something that could possibly see itself in the actual game, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So the storm element. Now, we've had lots of talk all over YouTube about, the galaxy element, and that's not necessarily a concept. Obviously, it's used as clickbait a lot. I don't know why it is used as clickbait so much and why so many people go and check it out. It's pretty ridiculous. But the galaxy element is used to lie to people and used to get clicks and stuff. This is an actual concept. This actually has ideas behind it, and I want to explore that in today's video. So this is the idea of a, what is it? We got physical, energy, water, like sixth element or whatever. So yeah, let's go talk about it. So the storm element would be something that you would find later on in the game. This would be an extreme late game element that you would unlock, and be able to use and stuff. So don't expect people from Plankerton or Candy Valley to be able to use this. Don't even expect people from Twine Peaks to be able to use this. Expect people from the late game of Twine Peaks to be able to use the storm element. Now, before we get into how you would get the storm element, let's go and talk about what the storm element would do. Now, what the storm element would do would be 100% effective against every single element in the game, no matter what. Now, whenever I was talking about this with Deathgrip, we were coming up with stuff for it. We were trying our best to not make this overpowered, because it could, if it's overpowered, obviously it's going to change everything. If the storm element does 100% of the damage versus every element in the game, it is not going to be overpowered, and I can tell you guys why. If you guys currently use the energy element in the game, you're going to be doing 75% of your total damage against any elemental husk. Fire, nature, water, 75% damage. If you use a fire element against a nature element, you're going to do 100% of your damage. If you use a nature element against a water element, you're going to do 100% of your damage, and if you use water against fire, 100% damage. If you use a storm element, you're going to do 100% damage against everything. You are not finding yourself with a damage increase with the storm element unless you have a mixed group of different elemental husks, and the only time you're going to find yourself a mixed group of elemental husks is usually whenever you're just going to find random patrols before the mission actually starts. Whenever the mission actually starts, you're basically tied to one group, nature, fire, water, whatever. So that's how it wouldn't be overpowered. I'd say that we want to bind it to the limitations of 100% damage, and basically use it as a factor of convenience rather than a factor of being really, really good, because that could completely throw everything else out the window, in that any in-game player would want to use this element over any other element 100% of the time. So that's basically how the storm element would work. But how would you get the storm element exactly? Well, this idea was built off of the fact that Epic Games announced, in one of my recent bonus news videos, I covered this as well. Epic Games basically announced that the Storm King was going to be seeing itself in the lower zones and in the higher zones in the future, which confirmed that we are going to see a Storm King in Twine Peaks. Now, I got to thinking about this and I was like, they could definitely use the Twine Peak Storm King as a very, very good centerpiece of in-game content. If you guys aren't familiar, Canny Valley pretty much caps out at 70 power level. Whenever you fight the Storm King, if I'm not mistaken, the Storm King and the ads themselves and the husks are actually power level 80. So it's a 10 power level increase from whatever. So basically, if you fought the Storm King in Twine Peaks, if it followed this same way, of thinking, the Storm King would be power level 110. Personally, I would like to see it a little bit higher than that if they're going to use it as in-game content, but it's just a thought. You would basically be able to get this from the Storm King. Now, it would have to introduce a grind as well. The Storm King in and of itself would also have to be a very hard boss. If it's in Twine Peaks, it's going to have more health, it's going to have more husks in general, it's going to have more mechanics that you need to do, and possibly you're going to have one person dedicated to killing husks, one person dedicated to this, 2 people dedicated to that. You're probably going to have to do something like that, and that's how I'd preferably like to see it. But you would use the Storm King. You would have to farm the Storm King weekly if you wanted to get the Storm element. So basically, they should make it really hard. Only in-game players, in-game players should be able to obtain this, and it should be a very rewarding thing if you do. So basically, me and my team, we go into the Storm King fight. It takes us a while, but we finally get it done, and we get rewarded with the Storm element. Now, you're not just going to be gifted the Storm element as a piece that you can just throw onto the gun like reperk or perk up. You are actually going to get a random drop from a pool of loot. Now, this is something that we really haven't seen in Fortnite Save the World. We have yet to see an activity where you can basically go into the activity, you can just, run it as many times as you want per se, let's say that, and then it basically pulls from a certain loot pool, that is randomized, and you get like a gun schematic out of it. Yeah, you can run the Canny Valley storyline, you can unlock Anthony guaranteed, but we really don't have an activity that we can run over and over again and get specific items from it. Now, if you did this with the Storm King, you can introduce an entire new weapon set. It would be locked to a storm element, and it would also have very specific cosmetics. So let's take the Siege Breaker that is in the thumbnail, for example. Now, this is going to be in the loot pool of, say, 10 to 20 weapons. Now, this in particular Siege Breaker is not going to look like a normal one. It's going to be a mixture of black and purple coloring with cracks of light coming through it, and a element that is like purple and misty, and when it's shot, it also leaves a purple trail. Now, that's what the Siege Breaker is going to look like cosmetically. That's how you're going to know somebody has a storm element weapon. But basically how it would work is that, I ran the Storm King, I got a random weapon. That weapon is the Siege Breaker. Now, how do we introduce this as a grind? Because you're like, Joey, all you would have to do is run Storm King 20 times and you get all the weapons. Well, let's make it a little bit more complicated than that and a little bit more rewarding. I ran that and I got the Siege Breaker. Let's say me in particular, I wanted to have that Siege Breaker with a crit build on it, but instead I got it with randomized perks, and those perks were not to my liking. Then I could go back to the Storm King and continue to grind him. Let's say they allow us 3 to 5 grinding sessions per week of the Storm King. So you can run him 3 to 5 times and get really good rewards in Twine Peaks in particular. So say I run it the first time, I get a Siege Breaker. Oh, dang it, dude, that's not how I want my Siege Breaker to be. I run it again, then I get a Super Shredder, with the Storm element on it. It looks really cool, black, purple, cracks of light, whatever. I didn't want that. Then I run it again, and then I get the Siege Breaker that I do want, a Siege Breaker with crit perks on it. Then I can choose to use my perk up and level it up. See, the grind here is that you can grind for a particular loot pool, of just randomized weapons with randomized perks, and if you want the specific weapon that you want, you would have to keep going over and over again, which would introduce a grind. Unlike at the launch of Fortnite Save the World, you're not going to have to open up llamas for you to get a weapon that you want. Instead, you can actually play the game and earn what you want, and that is something that is lacking in this game as of right now, and I think that it would be a perfect idea if it were added. It would just have to be added properly, and I'm not saying that, this whole concept is like flawless and it can't go wrong. Obviously it's just a concept. It's not added into the game for a reason because it's not refined and it's not a perfect idea. But I think this in and of itself would be a great introduction to an end game. I finally get get to Twine Peaks, then, over time I get my power level up. Then, I'm ready. I got me a group. I can run the Storm King. Run it the first time, get a really cool Storm Element weapon. It's not perfect, but it'll do for now. And, I can show that off to the newer players. They're like, whoa, how'd you get that? That gives them incentive to want to go up into Twine Peaks and get where they need to be. And then, I can keep grinding that out weekly with my team until I get a weapon that I want. It's not going to give me any advantage other than, having fun, actually having an in-game grind. And then once I finally get what I want, I'm not going to have to worry about switching weapons constantly to use water or nature or fire. It's not going to give me any advantage whatsoever other than a cool looking weapon that I grinded for, got satisfaction from, and just have the convenience to use. So guys, let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below of this concept. Like I said, it's not perfect, obviously. I just came up with it with Death Grip, and pretty much over the course of this recording, I kind of came up with some ideas that could be used and, to actually have it implemented into the game. So if you guys have any better ideas, let me know in the comments. If you guys think this could work or couldn't work, also add that to whatever comment you post. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I greatly do appreciate it. Tomorrow, I do have a podcast with David Dean going up on my channel. For those of you guys that are interested, me and David are pretty good friends here on the YouTubes. I freaking love that guy. And we talk about some really cool stuff concerning Fortnite. So if you guys are interested in that as well, make sure you go check it out. But guys, that's pretty much it for me today. I thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, let me know your opinions, and I'll see you guys next time.